Okay, guys, part one of our getting into position training. And really, this is for anybody who has ever uttered the words, I feel stuck. And that could be, I feel stuck in my business. It can be, I feel stuck in my product story. Maybe you're not lifting as much as you wanted to be lifting, or you're not as fast as you wanted to be, or you're not running as far as you wanted to run. I want to talk a little bit about expectations. And in a good way. It's a good way of talking about expectations, not what you're thinking. I want to talk about expectations based upon where you thought you would be. Because the easy thing to have happen, I actually had a conversation today with one of our leadership guys. Hal Craig and I had a chance to get on the phone this morning, and he opened my eyes to this even more than I had even prior. He was talking about what he thought was possible with Advocare and what he thought could happen. If I do this right, maybe we can make this much. And he had set a goal early on in his business that he came in and he has been knocking down that goal almost, I think, every single pay period, every single month for a year. But yet he walks around thinking he's doing something wrong because somewhere along the way, his goal got fuzzy. His goal got pushed back because he saw other people who were shooting to something else. Let me put this in context for you. If you came to me and said, I want to learn how to run a 5K, right? So you're going to go out and you're going to train to run a 5K, and all of a sudden you're running successful 5Ks, and not only do you run those 3 some odd miles, but you start doing 4 miles and 5 miles. I'm going to be impressed. I'm going to think, man, he's doing what he said he was going to do. But what if you have a friend who runs marathons, and you start comparing yourself to your friend, even though what your friend is accomplishing is not your goal? It's not even what you're training for. It's not what you're fueling for. It's not what you came here for. But somebody else is doing more than you. So instead of focusing on the fact that you are accomplishing well that which you came to do and being encouraged by your progress, you are judging yourself based on somebody else's standard. That doesn't make any sense. But we're all doing it. You see, what happens is you come in and you say, gosh, if I can just lose 15 or 20 pounds, that'll be amazing. And you come in and sure enough, you lose those 15 or 20 pounds and you keep those 15 or 20 pounds off. But then you look around and here's some folks who've lost 40. And here's somebody else who's been on product less time and they've lost 42. And gosh, what's wrong with me? What are you talking about? That was your goal. Celebrate it, because what happens is when you can get to a point where you can celebrate the fact that you were well able to do what you came here to do, and you look back at your expectations early, you can celebrate it and say, I wonder what's possible now. Well, the same thing's true for the business. If you came to this and you thought, okay, maybe we can make $500 a month, and right now you're averaging $1,500 a month, and you've been averaging $1,500 a month for the last 6 months, you can look at it and say, man, I could be making $6,000 a month. And you could, but that wasn't your goal. You came in wondering if it was possible to make $500 a month. So why don't you look at that and say, I have well established that there is even more here than I thought possible. Because when you can take some pride in what you've accomplished, you can use that as a stepping stone to take the next steps forward, to set the next big goal. Because the reality is if we go back to the running analogy, if you're knocking down a 5K every other day, you may be ready to start training for a half marathon. But when you make that decision, you're going to call your standards higher. See, a lot of you guys are holding yourself to a standard in this business that you haven't yet set for yourself. You're holding yourself to a standard that somebody else has set for themselves. You're holding yourself to a standard of a marathoner when you've only come to the table and trained to be running a 5K. So here's my thing. Do you want to run 5Ks? Then take pride in the fact you're running 5Ks. You want to run marathons? Let's set a new standard. And let's decide why it's going to be worth it to us and what it's going to look like when we cross that finish line. And let's go pursue that. But you've got to set an expectation that's fair. Fair to you and fair to this process. Because at the end of the day, getting in position, you've got to remember what you came here to do. And you've got to remember what you've accomplished. Because if you can walk around taking some pride in what you've done, people are going to wonder what you've found, because it's going to change how you approach everything. It's time for you to lay down condemnation. It's time for you to lay down shame. It's time for you to remember that you're here on purpose, that you're building a business on purpose, that you're doing these products, you're taking these products on purpose. And you're not comparing yourself to anybody but what you bring to the table. I want you to be encouraged by this tonight. Getting into position is first about being realistic about where you are and about what you thought was possible. How are you doing with that? Whose standard are you trying to carry? Give it some thought. Talk to you soon.